Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radhe. Thank you so much. Thank you, dear devotees, for making time on a Friday, on a Saturday, to come and attend this Krishna Katha. And I wanted to let you know that in ISKCON, I'm representing ISKCON here. I'm from the Mountain View Temple, and we all are vegetarians, so we don't eat each other. So please come a little bit closer to me. I won't eat you unless you want to have a backrest. Uh,
Well, you can take it when you need it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to set up a few things here. Just give me a few minutes. Are you all ready for some rigorous devotional exercise? Okay, so we will start. This, by the way, this program is being broadcast on Facebook and on YouTube. Just wanted to let you know that. And so we will get started with brief prayers to the spiritual master here. And I'm just going to start sharing my screen as soon as I can figure it out how I do that here. And I think this should do it. Do you see a picture of Prabhupada on your television screens? Not yet. Okay, so there's a little delay. It takes some time for things to move from here to there. Okay, so we always start our things with prayers to the spiritual master. Also wanted to let you know that during the kirtan, which was very, beautifully sung by Devi Mati ji and her beautiful daughters, when the participants are singing, you're encouraged to sing along, right? And we are a sonic religion. We believe in the power of sound. Sound is very powerful. What are some of the things that sound can do? It can wake you up in the morning, right? Wife says, we get up. What else can sound do? Is it used anywhere in medicine?
Yes, we try to wake up unconscious patients.
Right, you do exactly right. And sound is even used to break stones in the kidney, right? So it's very, very powerful. And in this yuga, which is Kali Yuga, sound is supposed to be the only way. Chanting of the names of the Lord is supposed to be the only way. And that's why we spend about 1 hour, generating the transcendental vibrations over here. And so one of the things that we always also encourage you to do is to clap while the kirtan is going on, right? And the reason we ask you to clap is, can you show me how hard can you clap? Yeah, more. So one of the things I wanted to let you know is that, I have a career about 40 years working on computers. And so there was a time in my life just before I came into and was exposed to ISKCON. There was a time in life because of working so much on the computer, I had all kinds of problems with my arms. I could not sleep. I could not move my hands. It was painful and all that, right? And then my brother-in-law, he said that in the old times, people used to do, I was like, why is it hurting? Well, because I'm doing all this. He was saying in the old time, people used to do even much more hard work with their hands, right? You have to pull the water from the well. You have to, plow the fields and all that. So people would have more rigorous injuries to their hands. But in the evening, what everybody used to do is they would all gather under a tree and there would be Krishna Katha and Kirtan. And there they would clap their hands like this, right? So it is also one way of relaxing the muscles that you have spent the whole day on the computer like this, which is not the natural position of the hands. Natural position of the hands is like this. You bring them, it's still a natural position, right? So apart from the medical benefits of clapping during the kirtan, right? Another benefit, which they say, which is coming from the spiritual thing, is that there are so many sinful reactions which are there in our body, right? We have committed sins from how much time do you think have you been committing sins? You don't commit sins? It's just me? How long do you think you have been committing sins? Just give me some answer. It's fine. It's a friendly. From the time that you are born, right? That's what you think. Right? Actually, we have been committing sinful reactions from all our previous births. And it gets accumulated from the millions of births, right? And that is why when a baby is born, right from the time that the baby is born, sometimes they have problems. And it's like, what did this little baby do to deserve this? Well, you don't know what the baby did when the baby was in the previous births, like that, right? So there are a lot of sinful reactions which are there. And they say that, your body looks like a tree, right? So if I stand like that, this is the trunk and these are the branches. So the body looks like a tree, and the sinful reactions are like birds that are sitting on a tree, right? Now, you must have seen orchards, in place close to your home or wherever, even here, you go cherry picking and all that. So one of the things that they do to scare away the birds, like if a bird is sitting or if a crow comes and sits over here, how do you ask the crow to go away? You clap, right? Go, like that, right? So similarly, when you clap during the kirtan, these sinful reactions also fly away. So there is a very strong reason why you should be clapping. So can I hear some claps here? Yeah. That was a practice. That was a practice for when the lecture ends. I'm just kidding, right? So like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Right, like that. So today what we're going to do, Achiko, we might want to put it in the full view mode, your screen. Yeah, because I'm seeing myself over there. You should just be focusing that, right? So that's one of the things that during the kirtan, we will be chanting if there's kirtan. And then also, whenever we start anything auspicious, we also always try to get the mercy of our spiritual master. Who was your teacher, who's your guru? You close your eyes and think about your guru. I'm going to pray to Srila Prabhupada. If you don't have a guru, then we have a guru ready for you. There, Srila Prabhupada, who founded ISKCON, right? International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Okay, and no talking in the class. Om Jnanatimarandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So leading up to Bhadra Purnima, it's up in the month of Bhadra, there is a day where we have Purnima. Oh, this will be helpful. Yeah, this will be very helpful. I'm almost shouting. So how does it go? Behind like that, right? Is it better? Is it better?
Yep.
These are directions. Okay. So I was saying that leading up to 12th of September, when we have Bhadra Purnima, so there's a month of Bhadra, and in that there's the Purnima. It's supposed to be a very auspicious day to distribute Srimad Bhagavatams. And so to focus on that and to generally get the mood of doing that service to all the way up to Bhadra Purnima, what we have decided in my temple, which is ISKCON of Silicon Valley, we have said that we are going to memorize the prayers of Queen Kunti. And they appear in the beginning part of the Srimad Bhagavatam, like that, right? So that's why with that focus, I'm going to talk about the prayers of Queen Kunti. Who was Queen Kunti? Anybody wants to venture? Mother of the Pandavas, right? That's how she's known as, right? Sometimes when your kids are so exalted that, you get known by their name. Like that. I still remember that, I grew up with my name. My legal name is Sandhya. And so people knew me as Sandhya. And then I got married, then, it was still Sandhya. And so everybody in my office, in my home, in my in-laws, everywhere, they knew me as Sandhya. And then my daughter was born. And one day I was returning back from office and she was playing with the friends there. And then I heard one of the friends say, Megha ki mummy aa gayi. And I was like, oh, that's a new designation you get to know by your kids, like that, right? So so what we're going to do here is that we're going to let me see, there will be a delay, so I have to remember to focus on this side and see how long it takes, and then I'll tune myself.
It's taking longer.
It's taking longer, yeah. Longer than, yeah, okay. Okay, so we did the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. So before I go into the Krishna Katha today, I wanted to make some acknowledgements. And the first acknowledgement is to Srila Prabhupada, the guru that you saw in the first picture, because he translated all the scriptures into English language, and I could not have read it in any other language. He has made it very simple, given wonderful purports there. I'd also like to thank my Diksha Guru, His Grace Vaishashika Das Prabhu,
And also Shivas Pandit Prabhu, who is my teacher at ISKCON, who taught me how to read the scriptures and not to consider a scripture as a novel to be read from front end to the back end. It has to be read very scrutinizingly, and he taught me the art of reading it. I'd also like to thank my husband, Rakesh Prabhu, who's sitting at the back, for tolerating my absences when I have to sit focus on these kinds of events there. And last but not the least, I'd like to also thank Ashish Prabhu, Devi Kumari Mataji, my and Arna and Rahini for opening their home and opening their hearts so that we can have Krishna Katha here. So the topic for today is seeing Queen Kunti in her prayers and trying to understand the character of Queen Kunti through her prayers. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a background here as to why was Queen Kunti praying? Why is she praying, right? What has happened that she's praying, right? So Queen Kunti's prayers come after the Mahabharata war is over, right? So who won the Mahabharata war? Oh, by the way, it was a war between who? Who were the two parties who were fighting Mahabharata? Pandavas and the Kauravas, right? And who were the winners? Pandavas were the winners, right? So we think, and even I thought till I read Queen Kunti's prayers, I thought that, okay, so there was a war and the good side won and they lived happily ever after, right? But that's not what the case was. So the day the Mahabharata war ended, how long was the Mahabharata war?
18 days.
18 days, right? So in the 18 days when Duryodhan was also defeated and he was lying, left to die on the battlefield, and all the people had retired to their camps. Now, you know that in those times, the wars were fought on a very different, under very different rules and regulations, right? Sundown, and you'd stop fighting, right? You don't go and kill somebody or fight with somebody who doesn't have a weapon. You don't fight with people, with the small kids. You don't engage them in a war. Similarly, with the old people, women don't go into the war and all that, right? So there were different rules and regulations in the nighttime. Actually, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, the Kshatriyas used to consider a war as a game. For them, it was a sport. So they would fight the whole day, and in the evening they would go to each other's camp and they would have dinner. So imagine that, right? Doesn't happen any longer. We are in Kali Yuga now. So when Duryodhan was defeated and he was lying in the battlefield, his very close friend Ashwatthama, who was the son of Ashwatthama, anybody? Dronacharya, correct, for 500 points. So, so Dronacharya, right? So he was a very good friend of Duryodhan, so he didn't like the fact that his friend was lying there. So he said, I want to please my friend. So he wanted to kill all the Pandavas when they were sleeping. And that is not the rule of the war in those days. So anyway, so he goes in the camp, he goes from, place to place. And then he finds that all the 5 Pandavas are sleeping with the, with the sheets over the head. So he pulls out, after all, he's the son of Dronacharya, he knows archery. So he pulls out, his arrow, and with one arrow, he cuts off the heads of all the 5 Pandavas. And then he's happy and he takes it to Duryodhan. And then Duryodhan, says that, oh, so you killed the Pandavas while they were sleeping. He was not very happy. But anyway, he takes their heads, and then Duryodhan, tries to crush their heads. And when he tries to crush their heads crush. And then Duryodhan says, oh, these cannot be Pandavas' heads because Pandavas are very strong. What have you done? And then he realizes that he has killed the sons of the Pandavas. So all the 5 sons are gone. Draupadi's 5 sons are killed. And the Pandavas, Arjun had another wife, who was Subhadra. And Subhadra's son was Abhimanyu, right? And Abhimanyu was already killed in the war, right? Through wrongful means. He was already killed. So he was like, okay, so I have killed, that generation is gone. And then some Pandavas are there. But there is, when Abhimanyu was killed, at that time, Uttara was pregnant. Right. So he said, okay, but there is still one Pandava about to be born there. I want to kill that one as well. So he goes and unleashes a Brahmastra. So Brahmastra is like a nuclear weapon. And it's not like a nuclear weapon of our times. It's not like the bombs that were dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki about 50 years ago, which killed everybody, whether they were innocent or whether they were not innocent, right? The Brahmastra were very very focused weapons, and they were not bombs, and they looked like an ordinary weapon. You could have it looked like it could be a spear, it could be a bow and arrow, and they operated on mantras. So it was the mantra that you would chant that would convert that thing into a brahmas. And so when you chanted the mantra, you would tell that to the weapon that it has to go and this is the target. So it was supposed to just go and hit just the child in the womb, not even hit the mother. So they were the weapons in those times were very, very different. Our scriptures talk about there were wind weapons. We don't hear about wind weapons here at all, right? You could cook up a tornado and then people would be, killed because of that. So there were water weapons, right? So nowadays we are very proud of our machine, of our weaponry, and they're so expensive like that. But in those days, things were very different. So anyway, so he unleashes that weapon and to Uttara, and then Uttara comes running to Krishna. And then Krishna enters the womb of Uttara and saves Parikshit Maharaj, who is in the womb. And this entire Srimad Bhagavatam is actually narrated to Parikshit Maharaj, but that's a separate story for a separate day because it's a big one. Now, again, the day after the war, when all these things are happening, when Ashwatthama sees that, this has happened, and then Arjuna gets angry when he sees he's doing all that, so he starts chasing Ashwatthama. So when he starts chasing Ashwatthama is running in the front on a chariot, and Arjuna is following him in his chariot, and then it's almost like a Bollywood movie, where the car chase is happening. It's almost like that, except for it's happening in chariots here. So, then Ashwatthama's horses get tired. It's like you ran out of gas. Right? So they run out of gas. So what do you do? So now Ashwatthama knows that Arjuna is on me. So he uses the last thing that he can do. There's another Brahmastra, and he unleashes that. Now, the bad thing about that situation was that Ashwatthama knew how to, launch the vehicle or the weapon, but he did not know how to retract it. Now, with the Brahmastra, you could push it and you could bring it back also through mantra. He did not know that mantra. And so now that is chasing Arjuna now. And Arjuna looks at Krishna and says, what do I do? Then Krishna says, you chant the mantra. This guy doesn't know how to bring it back. So you go and you chant the mantra, and then, you launch another Brahmastra. So he launches the Brahmastra, and the two collide, and there's a big lightning that goes all the way up to the 14 planetary systems. And then Arjuna catches hold of Ashwatthama and brings him. And so he brings Ashwatthama to Draupadi and says, Draupadi, this is the guy who killed all your 5 sons. So, whatever you want to do, I'm going to kill him. And then you can, after you burn all your sons, then when you have to take a bath, you can stand on this guy's head and you can take your bath. These are Kshatriyas, they talk like that, right? But when Draupadi looks at that, Draupadi says that, no, please don't kill him, and gives many, many reasons for not killing. First and foremost, he says, he's the son of your teacher. After all, you learned all the archery, and you're the best archer in the world from Dronacharya. That's number one. And number two, he said that when Dronacharya was killed in the battlefield or died in the battlefield, at that time, Ashwatthama was there, and his wife did not commit or go through the sati ceremony. In those days, they used to have sati, And so she didn't do that because the son was there, and a father is supposed to be living in the son. So she was there. And so you cannot kill him. And the third thing that she says is that I know the pain. I know how painful it is when your children die. And so I don't want Dronacharya's wife, who is Kripi, to go through that same pain if you kill him, right? Like that. So then Krishna is there, the naughty Krishna. So he says, well, you know what, Arjuna, this man has done bad things. And you promised your wife that you're going to cut off his head and bring it to her. And so you do know what you have to do. So Arjuna, then understands that. So he doesn't cut off the head because he's son of a Brahmana. You cannot kill a Brahmin. So he just, on the head of Ashwatthama, there was a jewel from which he used to get all his energy. So he just chops up that jewel and let's go, right? So after all this has happened, then Krishna says, okay, fine, now I'm leaving and I'm going to go back to Dwarka. Because Krishna was in Dwarka and he had come here to participate in the war, or not exactly to participate, first to prevent the war and then become the Sarthi and all that, right? So when this is happening, Krishna is going, then Kunti Maharani is feeling sad. She's a devotee of Krishna. She's feeling sad that Krishna is going. And then she's trying her best to stop Krishna from leaving and going back to Dwarka. Now, by the way, they had already stopped Krishna once. After the war, they had stopped, and then they had said that, okay, I'm going to have some Rajasuya Yagyas and all that. So they did all that, Krishna stayed back for some more time, but then finally, when it was time to leave, then Kunti is, again, feeling very bad about that part. So then Kunti is going to recite these prayers, which are famous as prayers of Queen Kunti. And what we're going to do today here, there are about 20 plus verses. This in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 8th chapter, verse number 18. And we are just going to read the English. And I want all of you to read the English of these words, of the prayers, right? So on the count of 3, everybody can start reading. Now, in English language and in every language, there is something known as a punctuation mark. So there's a full stop, there are commas where you pause, right? So we have the whole night to recite the Kunti Maharani's prayer. So don't be in a hurry. Try to tune yourself with me, right? If you tune yourself with me, then everybody will be going at the same speed. Okay, so we'll start here. 1, 2, and 3. Srimati Kunti said, O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everything, yet you are invisible to all. Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. You yourself descend to propagate the transcendental signs of devotional service unto the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How can then we women know you perfectly? Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you, unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherd men of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. O Rishikesh, master of the senses and Lord of lords, you have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious king Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. My dear Krishna, your Lordship has protected us from a poison cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapons of Ashwatthama. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feelings. My obeisances are unto you who are the property of the materially impoverished. You have nothing to do with the actions and reactions of the material modes of nature. You are self-satisfied, and therefore you are the most general and are the master of the monoists. My Lord, I consider your Lordship to be eternal time, the supreme controller, without beginning and end, the all-pervasive one. In distributing your mercy, you are equal to everyone. The dissensions between living beings are due to social intercourse. O Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and are so misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. Of course, it is bewildering, O soul of the universe, that you work though you are inactive, and that you take birth though you are the vital force and the unborn. You yourself defend among animals, men, sages, and aquatics. Verily, this is bewildering. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes were overflooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes. And you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. Some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of pious kings, and others say that he is born to please King Yadu, one of your dearest devotees. You appear in his family as sandalwood appears in Malaya hills. Others say that since both Vasudev and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly, you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. Others say that the world, being overburdened like a boat at sea, is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you have appeared to diminish the trouble. And yet, others say that you appeared for the sake of rejuvenating the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so on, in order that the conditioned souls suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. O my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today? Though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us, now when all kings are at enmity with us. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, and all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. O Gadadhar, Krishna, our kingdom is now being marked by the impressions of your feet, and therefore it appears beautiful. But when you leave, it will no longer be so. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, O personality, the form of the universe, please therefore sever my tie of affection for my kingsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. O Lord Madhu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, O chief amongst the descendants of Vrishni, you are the destroyer of those political parties which are which are disturbing elements on this earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode, and you descend to relieve the distresses of the cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees. You possess all mystic powers, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty God, and I offer you my respectful obeisances. So, what do you think about Kunti's prayers? Any thoughts come to your mind from what we read? Do you like her prayers? Are they powerful? Would you dare to pray what she prayed? No? Yes? Let's see what was the effect on Krishna. So, Suta Goswami, who is narrating the Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Queen Kunti, composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled. The smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. So, do you want Krishna to smile on you? Yes? Well, only one yes? Only one person wants Krishna to smile? I'm waiting for yeses.
Yes.
Yes, say like that. Okay. So one way that you can make Krishna happy is to at least get intimately in touch with at least one verse from the prayers of Kunti, right? They are in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You can read them daily. It's a good practice, but we'll just look at one verse. And this time we're going to look at it in Sanskrit language. Okay. Namaha Pankaja Nabhaya. Everybody say Namaha Pankaja Maline. Namaha Pankaja Netraya. Namaste Pankaj Angrahe. Angraye. Right? So the meaning is my respectful obeisances unto you, O Lord. Namaha. Right? Say Namaha Pankaj. Now, Pankaj means lotus flower. And you see in this verse, the word Pankaj is repeated how many times? 4 times, right? The 4 lines and 4 times, right? And Namaha is also repeated 4 times, 3 times in the form Namaha, and the 4th time as Namaste, which is also the same as Namaha, right? So Namaste. So Namaha Pankaj Nabhaya. So he's saying my respectful obeisance unto you, Krishna, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like the lotus. So if you look at our navel, it looks like a horrible thing. But if you look at Krishna's navel, it is beautiful like a lotus flower. So that's Krishna. Right? And then Namaha Pankaj Maline. So Namaha means you can interpret, right? What was the first line saying? Respectful obeisances. My Sakshan pranams, right? My Sakshat dandavats like that. So she's saying, I'm doing that to you. My respectful obeisances unto you, whose abdomen is marked with depression. Then Namaha Pankaj. Pankaj again means lotus, right? Maline, this is from Mala, right? So what are you saying? Who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers. So Krishna used to wear lotus flower garlands, right? Namaha Pankaj Netraya, right? Pankaj Netraya. So Namaha Pankaj Netraya. So she's paying obeisance to Krishna, whose eyes have got some quality of the lotus, right? Now I want to take you back to before this Queen Kunti thing happened, and I was telling what happened immediately after the war when Ashwatthama was very unhappy. So we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, and when he's out to kill the Pandavas and again unleashes the weapon to kill Parishad Maharaj in the womb of Uttara, right? And then again he's unleashing it all the time. His eyes is described as red, hot eyes because they're full of anger, right? In contrast to that, now you see how are we defining the eyes here? Nama Pankaj Netraya. So eyes are like lotus, but what kind of a lotus? What the quality of a lotus is his eyes depicting? He's saying your glance, right? Because your eyes are cool. So even if you cast a glance, is as cool as a lotus. So lotus flower is a symbol of being cool. And Namaste Pankaj. Pankaj again means lotus. Angrihe. Angrihe means the feet. Okay. So what four things are described of Krishna here in this verse? His abdomen, the navel, yeah. His eyes, his feet, and what's the fourth? His garland, right? So Namaha Pankajnabhaya, Namaha Pankajnabhaya, Namaha Pankajmaline, Namaha Pankajnetraya, Namaste Pankajangrahe, Namaha Pankajnabhaya, Namaha Pankajmaline, Namaha Pankajnetraya, Namaste Pankajangraye, Namaha Pankaja. I'm going to say Namaha Pankaja. You're supposed to fill the blank, right? Namaha Pankaja. Namaha Pankaja. Namaha Pankaja. Namaste Pankaj Angraye. So what are the four things? Now tell me in Sanskrit. Nabhaya, Maline, Netraya, Anvihe. So you see the order in which she's doing. She's starting from the abdomen, right here. Nama Pankajnabhaya, Namaha Pankajmaline, Namaha Pankajnetraya, Namaha Namaste Pankajangrihe. This is how she's going. Okay. So Nabhaya, Maline, Netraya, Angraye. Okay. Now you have to memorize these four. Now, no prasadam if you don't memorize. Nabhaya. Everybody say Nabhaya. Nabhaya. After Nabhaya, Maline. After Maline, Netraya. After Netraya, Angrahe, right? That's the only new thing, Angrahe, right? You don't use the other things, Nabhaya, Mala, Netra, It's just only one word you have to remember today. That's cheap for prasadam, right? Cheap work, simple work. Okay, Namaha Pankajnabhaya, Namaha Pankajmaline. You bring some more energy, okay? Namaha Pankajnetraya. Namaste Pankajangrahe. Angrahe. You have to be so loud that the both sides neighbors should come and say, what's happening in this room, right? That's our standard. Namaha Pankajnabhaya. Very good. Namaha Pankajmaline. Namaha Pankajnetraya. Namaste Pankajangraye. Now try to close your netras. Namaha Pankaja. You have to fill in the blank, right? Namaha Pankaja. Second. Maline. Namaha Pankaja. Namaste Pankaj Angraye. Namaha Pankaja. Namaha Pankaja. Namaha Pankaja. Namaste Pankaj. Namaha Pankaja. Namaha Pankaja. Namaha Pankaja. Namaste Pankaja. Namaha Pankajnabhaya. Namaha Pankaja. One more time. First line. Second line. Third line. Namaha Pankajnabhaya. Namaha Pankajmaline.
Namaha Pankajmaline.
Namaha Pankajanetraya.
Namaha Pankajanetraya.
Namaste Pankajangrahe.
Namaste
Pankajangrahe. Namaha Pankajnabhaya.
Namaha Pankajnabhaya.
Namaha Pankajmaline.
Namaha Pankajmaline.
Namaha Pankajnetraya.
Namaha Pankajnetraya.
Namaste Pankajangraye.
Namaste Pankajangre.
See, memorized it? So you got one verse of Tulsi Mari nailed down. Okay? It just takes this much of effort. They're easy, they are musical, you can sing them. So now when you're going back home today in the car, what are you going to say?
Namaha Pankajnabhaya. Namaha Pankajmaline. Namaha Pankajnetraya. Namaste Pankajangre.
So Devi Matiji at our temple, when close to September 12th, they'll be asking people to record themselves with their eyes closed and reciting as many verses that they have memorized from the Queen Kurti, right? So you are ready for one, right? And even one is recognized. Even one is recognized because that is one step towards Krishna. And all the long, big journeys, they start with the first step. So there's a first step, right? Sitting here, I mean, you would have spent the weekend anyways. You could have gone to any place. You could have gone and watched a movie, but you came here. And the end result is that you have memorized one verse from Queen Kunti's prayers. And the verse is Srimad Bhagavatam. Now you have to remember that. First canto, 8th chapter, and verse number 22. Okay. So if somebody wakes you up in the morning and says, what is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.22? What are you going to say?
Namaha Pankajnabhaya. Namaha Pankajmaline. Namaha Pankajnetraya. Namaste Pankajangre.
Right. So now we'll go ahead and look at these verses, beautiful verses from Queen Kunti, or Kunti Maharani, and I'm just trying to see. Right. So we'll try to 1.8.22. So we'll do a character sketch of Queen Kunti by going through the prayers that she has just now recited, right? That we recited on her behalf. So the first thing is that the first quality of Krishna is Vatsalya Ras. So in Vatsalya Ras, she's in Vatsalya Ras. Look at this verse. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So as she's going to do her prayers to Krishna, and so it's very much in the beginning that she starts saying Krishnaya Vasudevaya, Devaki Nandanacha, because she herself is in the mood of Vatsalya. Vatsalya means a parental relationship with the Lord. So her relationship with Krishna is a relationship of Vatsalya Ras, right? She's the Bua, right, of Krishna. So aunt of Krishna. So even when she's praying to Krishna, she's bringing in that mood of Vatsalya Ras, because who's she bringing out? Who's the other mother she's bringing out in this verse? Devaki, right? The Devaki, Nandanaya Cha, Nanda's child also, right? So all that parental mood is over here. So she has got this quality of Vatsalya Ras. Then her prayers are full of humility, full of humility. Number one, we have to remember that she's the Pandavas' mother, and Pandavas have won this entire globe in the Mahabharata war. America, South America, China, Australia, Europe, Asia, everything was under one banner. And that was Yudhishthir was the emperor, and his other brothers were assisting him. Right? And so she's a queen. And then she's also the aunt of Krishna. But she knows that he is God. She knows that she's a devotee of Krishna. She knows that he's God. And so she's doing namaste. Now, we never do namaste to our nieces and nephews, right? But Krishna is her nephew. And she's namaste. But she also knows, and so she's a smart lady. She also knows that if I go and start touching my nephew's feet, by saying, Namaste Pankajangrihe, starting from lotus feet. Because when you go to a temple to say, I'm going to do darshan of the Lord, right? So we go there. And so we're like, oh, so wearing nice red sari. Okay, why? Radharani is wearing green. Okay, and the mala. Oh, I think there's something wrong with the garland, not good enough. And her earrings, they could have been a different. We have got this critical thing that goes on in our minds like that, right? So, but anyway, there is a style and there is a method of when you go to a temple, what our mood should be. So we don't go to the temple to see God. We go to the temple so that God sees us, right? He sees us. That's why we raise our hand when hundreds of people are singing. So we raise our hands like, oh God, I'm also here. Please put your kripa kataksh on me. So then we go there to see, we go there so that first foremost thing is for God to see us. And then when you start looking at the deity, right? The deity in the temple, and there's a difference between deity and a statue, right? Never ever call the deity in the temple as a statue. There's nothing like Krishna's statue. Statues, you'll find Lincoln statue, Gandhi statue, and all that, right? But a deity is God, because although a deity is made of stone, but when they establish the deity in the temple, there's elaborate prayers. They praying Krishna. And Krishna says, okay, because you cannot meditate on me, you foolish people of Kali Yuga, I'm going to come in the front of you in the form so that you can focus your attention on me. But when you start looking at Krishna, you just don't go and say, oh, Madan Mohan looking so beautiful today. You start with his lotus feet because that's where we belong. So from the lotus feet, you will raise your eyes slowly, 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 and then, all the way, the abdomen, the chest, the face, like that, the crown, right? So we start from here. But Kunti cannot start from here because she's an aunt and she's trying to do that balance. So she starts from the stomach so that, Krishna doesn't feel too awkward. And then she's going up all the way from stomach, and then she comes to the feet there, right? So, but she doesn't have to do this. And so this verse in this prayer is showing her utter humility, that she's so humble, right? She's the richest mom in the world at that time, right? Her son owns the whole world, but still she's doing that, right? Then again, Tatha Paramahamsanam Muninam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidharnartham Katham Pashyemahi Sriya. So she says that you yourself descend to propagate the transcendental knowledge. That's what Krishna says, right? Why do I come here? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkatam. So, and then yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, right? Abhyathanam adharmasya tadatmanam sajamiham. I come here for these purposes. You come here to propagate the transcendental science. This means Kunti Maharani knows her Gita very well. How many of you have read the Gita cover to cover? Okay, very good. Homework for all of you. You should have at least read the Bhagavad Gita, right? And that is a problem with us. We don't read our scriptures. We don't read. We don't do enough. We'll go and read books on machine learning and data science and all that kind of stuff. But this is the science that's going to help you when you are giving life's ultimate exam. And what is life's ultimate exam? It's death. And it comes. And death has 100% success rate. Right? Very nice thing to say on a Saturday, right? Just before prasadam. But that's a fact of life. We cannot ignore it, right? So please, please, please read your scriptures. And they have been made very easy, super easy in English language. And if you need any books, Devi Kumari Mataji, she stacks them, she quotes them, she distributes them. So please connect with her and she'll do that, right? So she is here, she's saying that you descend here to propagate all this, right? And all these transcendentalists, the yogis, the jnanis, the dhyanis and all that, these big men, big rishis with big beards and big hair and, tall and with effulgence coming out of them. They do devotional service to you. And they find it difficult to understand you. So what will I do? I'm a woman. I'm a lady, right? So in those days, ladies were more confined towards the household things. They were not, didn't go to Gurukul, didn't learn. Now, the good thing about Kali Yuga is that women have been given this chance to read and learn. You come to ISKCON, right? And you will see the women priests on the altar. They are offering Aarti to the Lord, right? So although Kunti is saying that how can women know you perfectly? And I am a woman, how can I know you perfectly? Just praying there to Krishna. But that is not the case. It's not that Kunti doesn't know. Kunti is super smart, very intelligent lady. So she has got humility, but she has got lots of spiritual wisdom in her as well, right? And actually, the beauty of it is whether you're a man or whether you're a woman, when you get spiritual wisdom, humility comes as a byproduct of that. You will automatically become humble, because when you realize that I could be working for Facebook or for Nvidia and getting 500K salary, and I can have a Tesla or a Poison Envy or whatever those cars are, and I have 14-story house and whatever like that. But then when you realize that, Krishna is the complete controller, I cannot even control. If I have to go to the bathroom, I have to go to the bathroom. What kind of a controller am I, right? When we realize that there's nothing in control, the only consequence of that will be that humility is going to come in a way, right? So she has got a lot of spiritual wisdom, and naturally she has got humility. And she said, and this is actually the first verse of Kunti Maharani's prayer, where she says, Namasye Purishatyadyam Ishwaram Prakrite Param Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antarbahiravastitam. Right? So she's in one verse, she's saying, I'm offering obeisances to you. Why? Because you are the original personality. So Krishna is the original and are unaffected by the qualities of material nature, which is something that most of the men did not understand when Krishna came here 5,000 years ago. That's why the Kauravas were fighting with him. If he knew, right, then they would have listened to Krishna when he said, at least give 5 villages to the Pandavas. Don't have this war. Krishna went there and said they would have listened to me. They didn't listen. And that's why in Bhagavad Gita in the chapter 9, Krishna says, Avajananti mamura manushim tanumashrita param bhavam na jananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. So he says that, and this verse is called 9.11. It's the 11th verse of Bhagavad Gita. 9.11. What does 9.11 mean for you? Right? So if you think that Krishna is a human being who came, he was just some yogi, as you will find a lot of people saying that in the internet, he's just a yogi, right? Or he just has some mystic powers. No, I don't pray to this Krishna. I pray to the Krishna within him. No, there's no within and without for Krishna. We have a within and without because we have a material body and we have a soul which is spiritual inside it, but Krishna is completely spiritual. So there's no concept of within and without for Krishna like that. Right? So we have to keep that in mind. So she's saying that you are unaffected by the qualities of this material world. You don't have a material body. So for those who look at Krishna and think that he's a material body, it's a 9/11 situation for them. As bad as 9/11. Because you don't even know he's God. You don't even know who is God. Right? And God is supreme powerful. The good thing is he's supreme powerful and he's supremely merciful also. I just want you to close your eyes and imagine that if God was all powerful and not merciful, what would he have done? And that is what happens to us when we get into a powerful situation, right? That's what we start doing to others, right? And so when he says, Alakshyam Sarvabhutanam, you are not visible to people. And Antarbahiravastitam, you are inside and you are outside also. So how is Krishna inside? How is Krishna inside? As the soul? Is soul Krishna? So Kunti Maharani knows all that. We don't know it. And that's why I'm saying you should read your scriptures. Devi Mataji, you should have this class every week. I will come every week if this group promises to read. It is important. It's very, very important for us to know the Shastras because it helps you handle the situations. By doing devotional service and by reading the Shastras, there's no guarantee that the distresses in your life are going to go away because I'm a bhakta. I'm praying to Krishna. So Krishna should bless me. No. Did Krishna bless Kunti? There are all kinds of troubles, right? So but what happens is that your attitude towards that situation changes. That only devotional service can do to you. Nothing else is going to make. And attitude is the best thing. Attitude, it is all about attitude. The devotional service will make you change that attitude. right? For example, when we are puffed up because of the wealth that we have, right? We don't even think of Krishna. And I have seen that Indians who come from India, who had gone to Balaji for the Balaji visa to come to USA, come to USA and they forget about Krishna. Why? Because now they're working in Google, they're working in Intel, they're working here, that mints of money, loads of money. They have got Alexa at their home who will go and switch on the light. So they are in a commanding mode. Why do they need Krishna? You don't need Krishna. They think they are Krishna. Like that. Right? So when you come here, then there is no need for you to follow the religious principles that you were brought up with in India. And of course, now you get into the exploratory mode. I want to know what is Buddhism. Buddha. Come on, you were born and you were put in a particular place. Just go deeper into your Shastras and understand that. Unless and until you don't understand the Shastras, what will you tell to your children? They are the burger and the cheese kids. What will they understand, right? It is your duty, especially the duties of parents who are in USA, to bring that culture into life. So if you brought your kids here, it's amazing, amazing gift that you're giving to your kids. Even if they don't understand the transcendental vibrations, the vibrations of 20 people singing Queen Kunti's praise has entered into their heart, and it'll stay there because it's the eternal vibration. It's not sound vibration like that, right? So Krishna is so Kunti, knows all the Alaksham, Sarvabhutam, Antarbhai. Knows which Vishnu is there in your heart. Well, Krishna is in my heart. Yeah, soul is there in your heart, but soul is not Krishna. Which Vishnu is there in the heart? What's the name of that Vishnu? Don't know. Read the Shastra. Shiro Dakshai Vishnu is there, right? Kunti knows it. That's why she is Antarbahir. You are inside and you're outside also. She's saying that, right? So she has got spiritual wisdom there as well, right? Gratitude. There's a lot of gratitude. Kunti Maharani's prayers, as you might have read, right? And I was asking you for reflections. What did you feel about Kunti Maharani's character? Gratitude. Yata Rishikesh Khalena Devaki Kansena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita Vimochitaham cha sahatmaja vibho Tvaye Vanathena Muhur Vipadganat. So he's saying, oh Rishikesh, oh master of the senses, the Lord of the Lords, you have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious king Kamsa, right? And me and my children from a series of constant dangers, right? Imagine you enter into a palace and the palace is made up of lac, right? And then Duryodhan sets him to fire, right? So they had so many viptas that came. Or Duryodhan went and said to Durvasa Muni, go there, ask for food after, Draupadi has eaten from her Akshepa. So there were so many distressful positions and situations that were there in Devaki's life, right? So, but Kunti Maharani is not only expressing gratitude in these words, she's actually, if you go deeper, and this going into the deeper in the Shastras can happen only with the help of a spiritual master, right? In your case, Srila Prabhupada, who has given such wonderful purports in the purport Tatparya of these verses. He explains, and that is what I said in the beginning when I said that I learned from Shivas Pandit Prabhu the art of reading books scrutinizingly. So what does that mean to read something scrutinizingly? Is that anybody will say, oh yeah, I know, okay, I have a computer, I can write a program, it will translate this into English. All that you can do, but the finer nuances, the deeper many meanings and hidden meanings inside it, and the history that, the Acharya is going to tell you. So here she's saying that, you have helped Devaki, right? You have helped Devaki. She was in the prison, you helped Devaki. Krishna was born, and then you went and you killed Kansa. So you helped your mother, brought the mother outside. But then she's also saying that my own children, Sahatmaja. She's also talking about her own children. And the gratitude that is coming from her heart is that, Krishna, you did not save Devaki's children. Devaki's had 7 children, they were killed. You did not save Devaki's children, but you saved my children. Right? And why he says, Taveva Nathena, you are my Nath, you are my protector. Why? Because Devaki had a husband. Who's Devaki's husband? Vasudeva. Correct. 200 points. Right? So she had a husband, but I don't have. Kunti was a widow, right? So that look at the gratitude that she has got there. She's comparing and she's saying, well, because of that. So that's one example, one verse she said, right? And then she's continuing on. What more things happen? Vishan Mahagane Purushada Darshana Asat Sabhaya Vanvasa Krichita Mride Mride Neka Maharatashtato Drone Asachasma Hare Rakshita. So she's saying that wish, right? Who was given poison? We watched the TV show. Bhimsen, right? Who gave wish to Bhimsen? Duryodhan, right? So we all watched B.R. Chopra's thing, right? For many years. The trains would stop and TVs would on the platform, the TVs will come on. But then we have to assimilate our knowledge also deep inside. It's not just, you watch, it's fun, and then you go and say, Khane mein kya hai? No, you have to read these things seriously and assimilate them in your life as well. That is when Sanatana Dharma is going to be strong, otherwise it will not be strong, right? So she is saying Vishwas Maha Agni. Maha Agni means fire. Now fire, Laksha Graha fire, right? So they were Mahasha Purishada Darshana, Purishada. That is from cannibals, right? So there were cannibals that they had met, right? When they were in the forest. Asat Sabhaya, how does it translate? Victious assembly. So what does it mean, victious assembly? It was the victious assembly of the Kauravas, where they had defeated Dhritarashtra and all the Pandavas in the game of, what was the game? Dice, right? Yeah, it was cricket. No, right? It was dice. So the game of dice, he had defeated everybody, and then what did they do? What was the vicious thing that they did? They dragged Draupadi by her hair and they tried to remove her sari, right? And then Keshab ban gaye sari Radhe Sham Shama Sham. So then she, in the beginning, and this is our thing also, like all of us who come to America and are making a million and say, I can do my things by myself. So Draupadi also tells us somebody is pulling her sari and she's holding it like that. And then she looks at Bhishma Pitama, what are you doing, Bhishma Pitama? And then looks at her husband, like you and you and you and you and you, right? And then she remembers that, you have to surrender to Krishna. So you can imagine if somebody is pulling your sari, your women in the assembly over here, the last thing that you will do is to raise your hands, right? Because your tendency is to hold it like that. But she raises her hand and then she calls out for Krishna. And then Krishna comes in the form of a sari, right? The sari keeps on becoming longer and longer. It's not a material sari, right? So she's saying that you saved us from that victious assembly also, from the suffering during the exile and so on and so forth. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama, right? The story that we read in the beginning of this. So then she's also a surrendered soul to Krishna. She surrendered to Krishna, right? So up adyanastwam swakrite hita prabho jihasasi sridhoni jivana yesham na chanyat bhavata padan bujat parayanam rajasuyojitam hasam. So there is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. His name is His Holiness Devamrit Swami Maharaj. We were so lucky that he came to our temple this morning. He's a Yale graduate. And after he graduated from Yale, between the time of graduation and taking the job, and you can imagine a Yale graduate would have got what kind of a job. And he comes from a very, very rich and affluent family. And between these two times, he met the Hare Krishna. He never went and took that job. He dedicated his life. He came to the temple today and he gave a brilliant lecture. Very super brilliant, as only a Yale graduate can do, right? I would highly encourage you to go and listen to that lecture. Highly, highly encourage, recommend. I was there sitting in the morning, and my husband, we were a little bit late getting from home because slept very late in the night doing seva. And so he drove very fast and dropped me at the temple. And I was like, I rushed there and I sat just in time. And I was sitting there like, I don't want the class to end. I can sit here for 9 hours. That's the kind of nectar that he was giving today. So Devi Mataji, if you can post the link to YouTube and Facebook links to today's class by Devamrit Swami Maharaj to this exalted assembly, they will definitely benefit. Written there? Yes. It's it's amazing lecture, mind-boggling. Yeah. So now she's saying that, oh my Lord, and then listen to this, and then listen to this verse with a little bit more focus here. So she's saying, oh my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Whatever duties he had, you know, duties that he had towards his parents, he saved the parents, duties he had towards, you know, his devotees, whatever duties Krishna had towards the Pandavas, excuse me. He says that you have executed. Are you leaving us today? He's saying, are you leaving us? And then he says, we are completely dependent on you. Completely dependent. So when you become completely dependent on Krishna, you know what goes away? Stress in life. Because when we are dependent on ourselves, we are focusing on the results. We're saying, I need to do this. I need to get this done. I need to get this done, right? And when you're dependent on Krishna, you're saying, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put all my energies in it, but I'm leaving it to Krishna. Krishna will make it happen to me if he thinks it's good for me. If he doesn't make it happen to me, I am supposed to understand that it is not meant for me. So that's why I was saying, when you become a devotee, your attitude changes towards things. So she's saying, we are completely dependent on you, Krishna, right? For everything, anything that we need, we call out to you, Krishna, right? And no one else to protect us. You're the only one who protects us. And now, and that's why I was saying that, you know, when I read Queen Kunti's prayers, among all other things, this was the verse that struck me very strongly and very powerfully, was that I was always thinking that Mahabharata war was over and then everybody lived happily. But now she's saying that no, when all these kings, so like, you know, when somebody's father is dead and dies in a war, and the children, no matter how bad the father was, the children will generally think that my father was killed, you know, in the wrong way. He shouldn't have been killed and all that. So there is that anger and that enmity is there inside them. And then they will give more birth to their children. So children of those kings who were killed in Kurukshetra war and their grandchildren, they were all alive. And what do you think? What do you think would be their relationship with Pandavas? Hate. Because they took away everything. They defeated the parents, you know, unlawfully or whatever they might think. They say now when all the kings are at enmity with us, she's very smart. She's looking at the political situation also. She knows the political situation, right? They were doing a political stretch of Kunti. So Kunti is not just the helpless mother of the Pandavas. She's so smart. Half of us ladies, you know, don't bother about what's happening in the elections, and they're like, give me my soap opera. I'm just going to watch that, right? So she's smart, very, very smart, right? Devotion to Krishna. And this is a very powerful verse. And that's why I had asked you, when you read the Kunti prayers of Kunti, I had asked you this question, that do you want to pray? Are you strong enough? And I had asked, are you brave enough to pray? So look at this verse and it will tell you how brave she is. What she's saying? Viptaha santuta shashvat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yatyat apunar bhavadarshanam. What does it mean? I wish that all calamities would happen again and again so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. Now, she has already listed all those calamities, right? We already went through the list of calamities. Do you want those? Do we want this to happen? Look at, she's brave and she's devoted and she has got faith in Krishna. That she's saying, well, bring them all again because you're going to save us. So she has got, how many of us have got that faith in Krishna? That Krishna really does it for us, right? So there was this guy who was supposed to go and meet a very important client in a multi-rise building. So, you know, supposed to meet him at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So he drives into the building. And 2 o'clock in the afternoon, all the parking lot is taken up by the employees of that organization where he was going to meet. So he starts praying to Krishna. He says, Krishna, please, if you find me a parking slot, Krishna, you know, I will start chanting 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra from tomorrow. And then, you know, so then there are, you know, 5 more floors of parking space available. So that if you'll find me something there. And then, you know, lo and behold, he just sees that there's a man pulling out from the parking lot. And then he turns, he says, Krishna, I found it. No need. That is who we are. That's who we are. Devaki, look at the strength of character. Look at the strength of her devotion. So she's saying, bring it on. Let it come again for me. there is resilience, right? Resilience, again, Vishan Mahagane, all these lists that she's giving, and then on top of that, she's saying, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on, like that. She's very persuasive. Are we persuasive? Do you perceive kids? Are you persuasive with your mom, dad? Right? She is very persuasive also. What was it that Kunti did not want to happen? She doesn't want Krishna to leave. Yes, for 1,000 points, right? So she's coming up with all these nice, she's a lawyer. She's making her case. We are dependent on you, right? Natha, you are our Nath, right? Body perishes. One of the verses she says, when the soul leaves the body perishes. Krishna, you are our soul. You are leaving. So what's going to happen to us? Some of the verses are there. All these kings are at enmity with us. So I'm in such a bad situation. Krishna, how can you go? Then your lotus feet are falling on our kingdom. Because your lotus feet are falling in our kingdom, that is why the rivers are nice, the oceans are full of, hills are full of minerals, the oceans are producing the pearls, so on and so forth, because of you. If you go away, what's going to happen, right? So she's pulling all the threads there, right? Trees, vegetables, rivers, all these are good there. So she has got good power of persuasion there. But then she talked about all these things, that how her children were protected, how her kingdom is protected if she's the queen, right? So from the queen's perspective, from the royalty perspective, she's talking about the kingdom. From as a mother, she's talking about her children and all that. But despite all that, she's asking for detachment. Atha Vishvesha Vishmatma Vishvamurti Swakeshu Me Sneha Pasham Mimam Chindi Dridham Pandashu Vrishneshu. Dridham means strongly. So sever these strong ties that I have with whom? With the Pandavas. So she first says Pandavas because she's the ideal daughter-in-law. She first talks about her family where she's married into. And then she's also saying, but I'm also, a little bit attached to my parents, the Vrishnis from that clan that she's coming. She's saying that, sever those ties because she knows that these ties, this is mine, me and mine. This is the worst tie and it hinders progress in our devotional service, like that, right? So she's doing that. There's detachment there. Then and why does she want detachment? It's not that let me be detached with my kids because they're giving me grief. Let me be detached with this kingdom because there are so many enemies over there. I'm sick and I'm tired of this. I want to take early retirement. She's not saying any of that. Why does she want to do that? Tvai me ananya vishaya matir madhupate sukrit ratim uttha vatad adha gange vagham udanvati. So she wants to sever all these ties and all these disturbances and these distractions because, O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anybody else. That's the reason she's asking for the attachment, not because it's difficult for her to handle all that, right? So Kunti Maharani is a very well-balanced devotee, right? As a mom, as a grandmom, as a wife, every time you read the Mahabharata, you see that as a devotee, as a queen, she's displaying a very, very balanced approach. So in summary, these are some of the qualities of Kunti that we see in the prayers of Kunti. Vatsalya ras, humility, spiritual wisdom, gratitude, surrendered soul, politically aware, devotion, resilience, persuasive, detached, and balanced. All that. So any questions you have, any thoughts, anything you want to share here? Nothing? Go ahead.
Mataji, how can attachment and detachment can happen together?
How can attachment and detachment happen together? That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. When you start, so first let's look at what are we attached to generally? Anybody has any attachments? You're attached to your family, right? What else? Only family? What do you say? Huh? We attach to ourselves. You have attached to this body. We attach to extensions of this body, which is our family, and they may attach to. I could attach to this. I can attach to my. We attach to my cell phone, and all the material things we attach to that. right? But when you start looking at it philosophically from Gyan Chakshu, right? Open your eyes. That's why in the beginning, when we prayed, we said, Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjan Shalakya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena. Unmilit means to open the lids. So the guru opens your eyelids and shows you the reality of life. So when you start seeing the reality of life, and Bhagavad Gita says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Sapakesa Pandita Samadarshina. So it says that Vidya Vinaya, when you gather Vidya, not Vidya like you are, go to St. Louis Obispo and get your degree from there. It's not that. Vidya is spiritual knowledge. So when you get spiritual knowledge, then you see soul, super soul in everybody. So this is, I see Krishna here in your heart. I see Krishna here in your heart. I see Krishna here in your heart. So when I'm seeing Krishna in everybody's heart, how can I then discriminate and see people differently? How can I say this is my child and I have to be attached only to this child? Because I see Krishna and another person's child also. And that is why you will see that sannyasis and all, they leave everything and go, because for them it becomes a Vasudev Kutumbakam. For them, this whole thing is a family. The whole universe is a family for them. Now, does detachment mean that I'm not supposed to take care of my kids? Right? Should I not take care? Should I just abandon everything? No. No, because, and that is why our style of life is divided in so nicely in different ashramas, right? So there is a brahmachari ashram, there is a grihastha ashram, there is a vanaprastha, and there is sannyas, right? So in grihastha ashram, if you have a family, then you have a duty. And what is the biggest duty of a grihastha? The biggest duty of a grihastha is to, what do you think is that? Take care of the family in which way? Get them the latest gadgets, get them a cell phone. Spiritually, correct, right? So that is your aim. So if you abandon them and go away, then who's going to teach them that spiritual thing, right? Now, sometimes people do give up their family for a higher cause, for a higher purpose, right? So like Srila Prabhupada gave up his family for a higher purpose, and because he had to spread Krishna consciousness over this entire world, right? So once in a while, people do that, but in Kali Yuga, taking sannyas is not recommended action to do. Only under a lot of scrutiny do they allow people to take sannyas or like that, right? So you will continue to do your service, but Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddhicha. Krishna says that to Arjuna also in Bhagavad Gita. He says that, okay, you are supposed to fight. That is your job, right? You are a warrior. You're supposed to fight. And you are supposed to win the war also. So you will be focused, right? But at the back of your mind, there is a channel, right? Like, for example, when you go and watch a movie and there is a very catchy song, give me some catchy song. I don't watch movies. Is there a catchy song, or you all devotees don't go watch movies? Toba Toba. Yeah. So Toba Toba, and then after Toba Toba, what is it?
I don't know.
Toba Toba, I don't know. So yeah. So what happens is that is this Toba Toba is in your head. It's called an earworm, right? It keeps on singing in your ear, and you could be just working on your computer in your office. Well, where has the Vanar Sena arrived suddenly? Bashon, sit down. So you could be working on your computer in your office, and this Toba Toba goes on a different channel. So there are channels in your head, So Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu, or Tasmat, whatever you're doing at Oracle, Intel, wherever you're doing, whatever you're doing, then let that Krishna consciousness, let that Hare Krishna run there. And thoughts of Krishna be there everywhere, all the time. Right? So Tasmat Sarveshu Kal, all the time you're thinking about Krishna and you're doing your duty. You do your duty. And then when Arjuna did that, he had, he won, he had victory like that. Right? So there is a detachment. Detachment doesn't mean that you lose the emotion of love. You will still love your kids. You will still love your husband. You'll still love your parents. You'll still do things for them, right? But you will also expand your vision, right? And if something gets taken away, you will just think it as, Krishna's mercy and not get super upset about that. Like that. Any good question? Any other question?
So why do we say Kali Yuga is so bad? Like if you look at this time, right, it's much more brutal than what we have in Kali Yuga, right?
That's a good question. So the question, I will repeat the question, is that why do we say Kali Yuga is bad when this seems to be very brutal, right? Mahabharata Yudh seems to be brutal. So what do you think about the wars now? Are they less brutal?
More merciful than what
How are they merciful? How was Hiroshima and Nagasaki merciful?
I mean, like
It was not.
yeah.
The innocent get killed when you drop a bomb. And so now the war happens all over the country. I still remember when I was a young child, the Pakistan and India war was going on, and I used to live close to the Taj Mahal. So there were rumors that they will come and drop a bomb on Taj Mahal. I used to find difficulty going to sleep. Like I was scared that I will wake up dead in the next morning. Right? I was 10 or something like that. And so they had a special place outside. They would go and fight outside. There were rules, there were regulations, and they would fight. And if you fought and you killed somebody with a sword, that person would die. But in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, generations are suffering because of the bomb that you dropped, right? So it is more brutal here. And there, that war, particularly Mahabharata war, was fought on the religious principles. To establish religion, it was founded. Nowadays, here, and that's what I'm saying, you should watch Devamit Swami Maharaj's lecture from today morning. Nowadays, war are fought. Why is war fought? For power. And why do you want power? To enjoy yourself. That's all we want, enjoyment. That's all that we want. Look at the advertisements. What are they telling you? Enjoyment, enjoyment, enjoyment. And if there is anything that comes in between me and my enjoyment, I get angry and I want to go and retaliate on that. That's all that it is. That is all this war are. Again, I remember there was a war, Rakesh Prabhu might remember, there was a war that British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, right? They were fighting for many, many months, if I'm not wrong. They were fighting for an island. Faulkner's Island? I don't know what island that was. And somebody just said, why are we fighting for that island? What is the good that island is? Only thing that you will find in the island is the leavings of the seagulls, because it's an island. But still you want to fight because how dare you do that? How dare you touch? Don't touch my stuff, it's mine, right? And so many innocent people were killed. They don't tell you. That is the problem. They don't tell you, right? So when somebody dies in a war, do we really know what happens to the family? Do you know what happens to the veterans of war? Do you know what kind of a life they're leading now? No. But in those old days, when the warrior is killed, then the king used to take care of the widows, their children, get them married. Everything was taken care of. And then in Kali Yuga, God is absent. Very, very bad. Very, very bad. Yeah. We are always disturbed. There's fighting that goes on, right? If you look at Satyuga, fighting used to happen between two planets. Yeah, Devtas and the Asuras, two different planets they would fight, right? Then Treta, two different countries were fighting, Ram and Lanka, like that, right? Two different countries are fighting. Then Dwapar, the clan, right? Kaurava and the Pandavas were from the same family. They are fighting. Kali Yuga, same family, father and the son, right? Daughter and the mother, daughter and sister and brother, they fight. Kali Yuga is a condemned thing. But the good thing about Kali Yuga is that in Kali Yuga, lifespan is 100 maximum. It's not even 100 these days. In Satyuga, people used to live for 100,000 years. In the next Yuga, it gets diminished by 90%. So those people live for 10,000 years. That's why when you read stories and your children come and ask you the story that how could Maharaj Sagar do tapasya? How could Rama do tapasya for 10,000 years? I don't think that is right. I think this is mythology. You call it mythology because you have not read your scriptures. If you read your scriptures and you understand that in Satyuga and in Dwapar, the lifespan is like that. So people will do their tapasya for this time. It is not mythology. So please, my humble request to you is do not call our scriptures as Hindu mythology. Mythology means myth. Myth means imaginary thing, not true. This is all true. These are happenstances that have happened here. Like that. So, okay. Any more questions? I'm the only one between you and Prasadam, by the way. But feel free to ask, and I will be here. I can even answer your questions during Prasadam. Feel free to reach out to me here. Okay. So for close, what do you think about this? One more time, I'm going to stop sharing.
Always.
Okay, yeah, close your eyes. Namaha Pankajam.
Gajamāliනේ, Namah Pankajnetrāya, Namaste Pankajāngre.
Open your eyes. Thank you for memorizing this wonderful, wonderful prayer, one verse. Parul, you wouldn't have thought, right? That with your kids, you will ever be able to memorize the verse, right? But you can do it. And that's why I'm saying you should have that can-do attitude. Prabhupada used to say, impossible is a word in the fool's dictionary. Right? So thank you so much once again for listening attentively, for participating so enthusiastically. And thank you again to our dear host, Devi and Ashish Prabhu for opening their home for us to do Krishna Katha. So we will just do a little prasadam prayer before we have prasadam. If you don't know, that's fine. I'll Sharira Vipyaja Jodindiya Tahika Jive File Vishaya Sagore Tar Mathe Jivayati Lobhamoye Sudurmati Taki Jita Katina Sansare Krishna Bada Doya Moye Kori Bare Jiva Joy Saprasad Nadilo Bhai Se Anamrita Pao Radha Krishna Guna Gao Preme Dhako Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nitai Janimai Janitai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Premanande Hare Hare Bol. We practice that. Okay, thank you so much, dear devotees, here again, and also dear devotees who are watching us on Facebook and YouTube. Stop this session here today. Thank you so much. Then